We live in interesting times. For the headlines. Pakistan says it has shot down 2 Indian warplanes in its airspace but insists it doesn't want to go towards war with India as the dramatic escalation of the confrontation ignites fears of an all-out conflict between the nuclear-armed neighbors. U.S. President Donald Trump touts an awesome future for his friend Kim Jong-un, whom he is preparing to meet, whom he has met for a high-stakes dinner if the North Korean leader agrees to give up his nuclear arsenal. Convicted Australian Cardinal George Pell will spend his first night behind bars following his historic conviction for child sex crimes, capping an extraordinary fall from grace for one of the most powerful men in the Catholic Church. And Indonesian rescuers are scrambling to find dozens buried in the collapse of an illegal gold mine that killed at least 2 people. I'm Alma Angeles, wherever you're watching from around the world. Thank you very much for joining us, and now to the news. U.S. President Donald Trump touts North Korea's awesome future if his friend Kim Jong-un, whom he meets for a high-stakes dinner, agrees to give up his nuclear arsenal. Trump's enthusiastic tweet came hours before a second summit in the Vietnamese capital Hanoi to build on their historic first meeting in Singapore last June. In just a few words, Trump encapsulated his fervent belief that only his uniquely personal brand of diplomacy and business acumen can break a standoff with the isolated nuclear-armed state that has bedeviled U.S. leaders ever since the end of the Korean War in 1953. Trump, who has previously spoken of the love between him and the North Korean strongman, said that by abandoning nuclear weapons, the country would very quickly emulate Vietnam, a communist country once locked in conflict with the U.S., but now a thriving trade partner. The potential is awesome, a great opportunity like almost none other in history for my friend Kim Jong-un. We will know fairly soon. Very interesting, Trump tweeted. And U.S. President Donald Trump shook hands with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un to kick off their second summit in the Vietnamese capital, Hanoi. Take a look. Now, Trump predicted the talks over the totalitarian state's nuclear program would be very successful. Trump and Kim Jong-un looked genuinely pleased to see each other as they shook hands to mark the beginning of the second nuclear summit. They were following up on a historic first meeting in Singapore in June with about 20 minutes of one-on-one talks scheduled before a wider dinner. Talks were then scheduled to resume on Thursday. Meanwhile, President Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un opened their second North Korean nuclear summit in Hanoi. Trump tells reporters that he and Kim Jong-un have a great relationship, adding that he thinks this second summit will be very successful, possibly even greater than their first meeting last year. In comments made before the pair went for their private chat, President Trump said he thought North Korea has tremendous economic potential, and there has been a lot of progress in the relationship between the U.S. and North Korea. Let's listen in.
They seem to be very much, a lot of questions that they seem to have. So, do you want to say something? So maybe I would like to start with you. So it's exactly 261 days since we met last time in Singapore in June last year.
Yes.
And I truly believe that this successful and great meeting that we're having today is thanks to the courageous decision, political decision that your Minister President made. So during that 261 days since we last met, there have been some misunderstandings. There have been, these eyes from the world who are misunderstanding our situation. and there was some hostility that still remained from the very, very past period, that from the outside. But however, we have been able to overcome all those obstacles, and here we are today after 261 days in Hanoi. And I truly believe that those 261 days were the days during which a lot of painstaking efforts were necessary, and also a lot of patience were needed. But here we are today, sitting next to each other, and that gives us a hope that we will be successful this time, and I would really try to make that happen.
Thank you very much. That's really nice. And, well, I wanted to say it's an honor to be with Chairman Kim. It's an honor to be together in really a country, Vietnam, where they've really rolled out the red carpet, and they're very honored to have us. And it's great to be with you. We had a very successful first summit. I felt it was very successful, and some people would like to see it go quicker. I'm satisfied, you're satisfied. We want to be happy with what we're doing, but I thought the first summit was a great success, and I think this one hopefully will be equal or greater than the first. And we made a lot of progress, and I think the biggest progress was our relationship is really a good one. And as I've said many times, and I say it to the press, I say it to anybody that wants to listen, I think that your country has tremendous economic potential, unbelievable, unlimited. And I think that you will have a tremendous future with your country, a great leader. And I look forward to watching it happen and helping it to happen. And we will help it to happen.
Meanwhile, before the summit, Vietnamese carriers Vietjet, Bamboo Airways, and Vietnam Airlines signed deals with U.S. firms for aircraft and maintenance contracts worth $21 billion, according to a senior White House. Vietjet will buy 100 Boeing 737 MAX jets and GE engines, while Bamboo Airways will buy 10 Boeing 787 Dreamliners. For state carrier Vietnam Airlines signed a $100 million deal with Sabre Corporation for Services and Technology. These deals will support more than 83,000 American jobs and provide increased safety and reliability for Vietnamese international travelers, according to a senior official. President Trump is calling the relationship between the U.S. and Vietnam an example of what can become of North Korea if it gives up its nuclear weapons. Trump paid a courtesy call Wednesday to Vietnamese President Nguyen Phu Trong ahead of his second summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un in Hanoi. Meanwhile, Pakistan closed its airspace, the Civil Aviation Authority and the military said, as fears spiked of an all-out conflict with nuclear-armed neighbor India. The Civil Aviation Authority tweeted that it has officially closed its airspace until further notice, while a Pakistani military spokesman said the decision had been taken due to the environment. A CAA source told AFP that all airlines had been notified to suspend their operations in Pakistan until further notice. The decision came after Pakistan said it had shut down 2 Indian Air Force planes in its airspace Wednesday, taking tensions between the South Asian rivals to dangerous new levels. Pakistan said it had captured 2 Indian pilots, with 1 in hospital. At least 5 Indian airports were also closed and scores of flights were being cancelled, aviation authorities there said, on condition of anonymity. Pakistan shut down the Indian Air Force planes in its airspace in Kashmir on Wednesday, according to a military spokesman, adding that 1 Indian pilot had been captured. PAF shut down 2 Indian aircraft inside Pakistani airspace, tweeted military spokesman Major General Asif Ghafoor, adding that 1 aircraft had fallen in Pakistani-held Kashmir while the other crashed on the Indian side. His statement came as Indian sources said that Pakistani fighter jets had violated airspace over Indian Kashmir but were forced back over the de facto border of the disputed territory. Indian sources confirmed Pakistani fighter jets had violated airspace over Indian Kashmir but said they were forced back over the LOC, or line of control, and there was no immediate response to the claim the planes had been shot down. The incident is the latest in a dangerous sequence of events between the two countries, whose ties have been under intense strain since a February 14 suicide bombing in Indian Kashmir that killed 40 troops. Meanwhile, China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs talks about the Trump-Kim summit, India-Pakistan diplomatic tensions, and the Turkey's response to Uyghurs in camps in Xinjiang. Take a look.
中方的立场非常明确，我们关心的是印巴两国作为南亚次大陆的重要国家，能够保持睦邻友好的关系。我们关注的是南亚次大陆能够保持和平稳定，所以我们希望是印巴双方都能够保持克制，能够采取有利于促进对话的这么一个举措，能够着眼于为南亚地区的和平稳定、持久的和平稳定做出相向而行，做出积极努力。
因为两个国家同时就已经公布了初步结果，我们对
In other news, convicted Australian Cardinal George Pell will spend his first night behind bars following his historic conviction for child sex crimes, capping an extraordinary fall from grace for one of the most powerful men in the Catholic Church. Once among Pope Francis' closest advisors and the most senior Catholic cleric ever found guilty of child sex crimes, Pell returned to court for a pre-sentencing hearing a day after his conviction was made public on Tuesday. The 77-year-old is facing up to 50 years jail after being convicted on 5 counts of sexual and indecent assault of 2 choir boys in the sacristy of St. Patrick's Cathedral in 1996-97, shortly after Pell became Archbishop of Melbourne. Pell, who has lodged an appeal against the verdict, will be sentenced on March 13. His lawyers earlier Wednesday withdrew an application for bail following his conviction, saying the cleric believes it is appropriate for him to await sentencing. Pell was found guilty in December of assaulting the 2 choir boys, but the verdict was only revealed Tuesday after a second trial against him was abandoned by prosecutors, allowing a gag order to be lifted. But defense lawyers issued a statement following the hearing insisting that, quote, despite the unprecedented media coverage, Cardinal Pell has always and continues to maintain his innocence.
Don't worry, the judiciary will get you out of it. Don't worry through this way. Don't worry, the Vatican's playing big bucks.
1 person was killed and dozens more were buried, or 2 persons now were killed and dozens more were buried in the collapse of an illegal gold mine in Indonesia, according to the country's disaster agency. Rescuers on the island of Sulawesi scrambled to find survivors in the rubble after the collapse triggered a landslide on Tuesday evening. At least 2 persons now had been found dead. 15 others were injured in the Bolaang Monggondao region of North Sulawesi. Disaster agency spokesman Sutopo Purwono Nugrono said it is estimated that as many as 60 people are buried under the landslide. Officials said on Wednesday morning the victims were still responding to rescuers' calls, but it wasn't clear how many were still alive. Efforts to evacuate the victims were being hampered by unstable ground conditions due to the number of holes dug by the miners. The country has numerous unlicensed gold mining sites subject to few, if any, safety regulations. Two Thai policemen were executed after being abducted from a tea shop in the kingdom's violent southern borderlands, according to police on Wednesday, as bloodshed again spikes in a 15-year insurgency. Lieutenant Sarayut Kotchawang said around 8 suspected militants stormed a tea shop in Narawat province near Malaysia's border. The kidnappers abducted the 2 policemen, took their guns, and forced them to get into a pickup truck. He said the bodies were found later a few hundred meters away, and one of the victims was Buddhist while the other was Muslim. The killings occurred several hours after a bomb exploded in neighboring Yala province, killing a Thai ranger on patrol. Authorities said the attacks were likely retaliation after authorities launched raids in nearby mountains to pursue those responsible for recent assaults on soft targets. Clashes between ethnic Malay Muslim rebels and the forces from the Buddhist majority Thai state, which annexed the region a century ago, have killed nearly 7,000 people since 2004, mostly civilians. A fiery train crash killed at least 20 people at Cairo's main railway station on Wednesday, according to Egyptian security and medical sources. The accident, which sparked a major blaze at the Ramses station, also injured 40 others. Egyptian state TV confirmed the figures. The fire broke out after a train crashed into a steel barrier, according to sources. Now, photos, videos showed a thick cloud of black smoke billowing around the station. Firefighters were seen hosing down the charred wreckage of the train. Footage also showed earlier fire engulfing the train and a nearby platform and people rushing to help the casualties. Any person found to be negligent will be held accountable and it will be severe. This is according to Prime Minister Mustafa Madbuli as he arrived at the site. Egyptians have long complained that the government has failed to deal with chronic transport problems in the country where roads are as poorly maintained as railway lines. The official statistic agency says there were 1,793 train accidents in 2017. Eagle News International will be right back with the business news.
The latest news and information here and abroad. In Aguila, Balita, track the latest happenings in the provinces in Aguila Provincia. Be aware of important events in Asia, in ASEAN in focus, and be updated in the biggest news around the world in Eagle News International. Tune into Mata ng Aguila and get the day's headlines and news that are sharp, accurate, and objective. Only here at Net 25.
Hey guys, I'm here in New Jersey, the diner capital of the world. Tune in to Digital Nest on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. I'm Nikki, and I'm 1 with 25.
Tungkulin ng MTRCV ang mag-provide na appropriate ratings sa lahat ng TV shows. Para ugaliin ng pamilya ang responsableng panonood. Teamwork tayo, parents!
Rated G, good for all. Oops, rated PG.
Dapat may mga magulang para sagutin ang mga tanong ng kabataan.
Sabi, rated SPG, maselan.
Higpitan ang paggabay.
Pag rated MTRCV, rated responsable.
I am here at Gastown, which is a National Historic Site in Vancouver, British Columbia. Located in Vancouver's oldest neighborhood is the steam-powered clock, which is Gastown's most famous landmark. Make sure to tune in to Digital Nest every Tuesday and Thursday at 7:30 p.m. I am Lou Aquino, EBC correspondent, and I am 1 with 25.
For business news, this is Cesar Vallejos. KMC, the Philippines' largest co-working and private office space provider, unveiled its first office space facility in Alabang, southern Metro Manila's premier business destination. With this addition, KMC now boasts over 50,000 square meters of office space across 21 buildings located throughout Makati, BGC, Ortigas, Cebu, Quezon City, Mandaluyong, Iloilo, and now Alabang. KMC's latest office space is located inside the One Griffinstone building in Philinvest City, Alabang. Factors such as ease of accessibility, modern infrastructure, and cost competitiveness contribute to Alabang's appeal to both national and international businesses looking to establish or relocate business operations. Griffinstone, Alabang's newest property and home to KMC Space, boasts both LED Gold and PEZA accreditations, further adding to its attractiveness as a premier location for business operations. With the increasing number of foreign companies that want to establish presence in the Philippines, there is a growing demand for flexible workspaces, said KMC Managing Director Michael Maculo. The growing number of startups and entrepreneurs also prefer flexible workspaces as they offer low capital requirements and flexible leasing terms. Aside from workspaces, KMC also offers a range of technical, legal, and administrative support that eases to the entry of foreign companies and startups into the business arena. Among those who attended the launch included former Senator Rodolfo Biazon. He said Muntinlupa is growing and there are still many empty spaces to be developed. Alabang is the gateway to the south. The Bureau of Customs has assured Filipino-Chinese businessmen that the government is doing everything it can to address the crippling port congestion, which is seen to impede commerce and slow trade facilitation in the country. In a statement on Tuesday, Customs Commissioner Ray Leonardo Guerrero told Filipino-Chinese businessmen that the government is doing everything it can to address the issues and concerns affecting the operations of the ports, including the congestion problem. Manila Harbor South Harbor operator Asian Terminals gave assurances on Tuesday that it's business as usual at the port despite the fire that hit the customs headquarters last Friday. It was discussed that international shipping lines should be required to have their own container depots outside Metro Manila and not inside port terminals as what is being practiced at present. The container yards would be for the storage of their empty containers with the space allocation of the facility to be efficiently managed to maximize storing capacity. The BOC also reported that as an alternative, a unified or shared facility where empty containers of all shipping companies may be accommodated can also be established. Furthermore, the strict enforcement of the 90-day rule on empty containers should be also undertaken, if only to penalize those that have stayed in the country for over 90 days. Last week, the National Economic and Development Authority said the port congestion could dampen the country's trade performance this year. Congestion, particularly at the Port of Manila, has also been cited by German firm Hapag-Lloyd as the reason it has ceased acceptance for all reefer cargo to Manila for both North and South Harbor. In 2014, a study by state-owned think tank Philippine Institute of Development Studies estimated that the economy lost 43.85 billion pesos due to port congestion, with the BOC losses comprising an estimated 25.55 billion of the total. The Manila Electric Company Meralco on Tuesday said it surpassed sales and operational targets in a conducive business environment last year. The utility firm posted a 13% increase in net income last year to 23.1 billion from 20.5 billion a year ago. Core profit also jumped to 22.4 billion pesos, 11% higher than the 20.2 billion in 2017. Revenue stood at 304.5 billion at end 2018, 8% higher than 2017. The sustained growth of the domestic economy and the resilience of the global economy amidst political uncertainties have allowed Meralco to still achieve healthy energy sales growth in 2018, despite an increase in the pursuit of greater energy efficiency across all customer classes, distributed and self-generation, particularly rooftop solar, which could negatively impact sales volumes. Meralco Chairman Manuel Pangilinan said, "We hope the government's Build, Build, Build program and private sector investments will pick up steadily to support domestic consumption and help hurdle the uncertainties affecting our growth," he said. Meralco's customer base at end 2018 stood at 6.6 million. The board of directors approved the final cash dividend of 10.594 pesos per share to all shareholders as of March 22, 2019, payable on April 15, 2019. The Social Security system is looking to place its funds abroad as a new law allows the pension fund manager to invest in foreign currency deposits or investment-grade foreign currency denominated debts not exceeding 15% of its investment reserve fund. We have a plan on investing abroad because the asset allocation for foreign investment has been doubled from 7.5% to 15%, SSS President and CEO Emmanuel Dook told reporters. We have not been doing that because of lack of expertise, so we will be engaging, hopefully, fund managers and advisors. Dook said they are eyeing such move this year after the creation of a study group which will determine the timing of the investment as well as evaluate markets abroad. Republic Act 11199 provides that as part of its investment operations, the SSS may appoint local or, in the absence thereof, foreign fund managers to manage the investment reserve fund as it may deem appropriate. Dook said the 15% allowable investment for foreign currency securities translates to increasing the allowed investment of the pension fund to 75 billion pesos as opposed to the 37.5 billion pesos when the rate was still at 7.5%. RA 11199, or the Social Security Act of 2018, was signed into law by President Duterte last week. It is expected to help the pension fund increase its viability by 13 years to 2045 from 2032. Dook said the fund's extension until 2045 is projected on the back of the implementation of the contribution increase and adjustment in minimum and maximum salary credits under the newly signed law. Under the law, the SSS will implement a gradual increase in monthly contributions by 1 percentage point starting on the year of implementation until it reaches 15% in 2025. The current monthly contribution rate is at 11%. Dook believes such provision has given the SSS flexibility that would help expand a number of its loan programs and ensure the actuarial solvency of the pension fund. Shares in Air France-KLM plummeted on Wednesday, a day after the Dutch government announced it was buying a stake in the troubled airline in a bid to match the French state's influence. The alliance's stock collapsed 9.98% to 11.46 euros 12 minutes after the opening of the Paris CAC 40 exchange, which was down 0.27%. France has reacted testily to the surprise Dutch purchase of the 12.68% share, which puts it on course to match France's own holding, saying that Air France-KLM must be free of state interference. The Dutch swoop threatens to reignite tensions after a bitter dispute about the fate of the chief executive of the group's Dutch arm and concerns over a series of strikes in France last year. The move stunned Paris, with Economy Minister Bruno Le Maire saying the Dutch government had not informed the French state. Air France and KLM merged in 2004 but continue to operate largely separately, while the French arm in particular has struggled with industrial action in recent years. An app called Momo Challenge is reportedly hacking into children's programs on Google-owned video sharing platform YouTube. The app culminates with self-harm or suicide of the player, a form of cyberbullying that spreads through social media and smartphones. The Momo Challenge, much like the Blue Whale Challenge, entices users to contact a user named Momo, after which they receive graphic threats from the questionable account and are instructed to perform a series of dangerous tasks. Screenshots of YouTube videos invaded by the game of a sudden are going viral on social networking platforms. The character named Momo has recently begun to infiltrate YouTube videos meant for kids. It has apparently been promoting suicide and other dangerous activities. The game has reportedly been blamed for teen and preteen suicides in Argentina, France, and Belgium, though it's unclear if there is any link between Momo and the deaths. The hack has already been linked with more than 130 teen deaths in Russia and the suicide of a 12-year-old girl in Argentina. The challenge begins with children receiving violent images over WhatsApp, and from there they are encouraged to take part in an online game comprised of various challenges, facing threats if they don't complete them. And that's it for business and technology news. This is Cesar Vallejos. I'm one with 25. Eagle News International will be back. Stay with us.
With gorgeous white sandy beaches that stay cool to touch even on the hottest summer days, blue-green ocean waves, and the warm ocean breeze, there's no wonder why Dr. Beach has named Siesta Key, Florida, the #1 beach in the United States. Don't forget to watch episodes of Digital Next every Tuesday and Thursday at 7:30 p.m. I'm Melissa Protest, coming to you from Siesta Key, Florida, and I am one with 25.
Vulnerabilities for women and children, which we really want to look after because they're such an equal component of society.
ASEAN's Commission on the Promotion and Protection of the Rights of Women and Children, active in all 10 member states, works to see women are treated equally and children everywhere are protected. All 10 nations within ASEAN have signed on to a declaration to end violence against women and children, ensuring their citizens can live freely and safely.
It sets the benchmark of what can be done and should be done. Hopefully we can create a society that is better for women and for children and for families pretty much all over ASEAN.
And by focusing energy on education, ASEAN provides a brighter future filled with opportunities for our children, and that benefits all of us.
Welcome back. As Western Europe enjoys record highs for winter temperatures, southern parts of the continent are being hit with snow flurries. Take a look. What is going on with the weather and how closely are the topsy-turvy temperatures linked to climate change? On Monday, Britain saw its hottest winter day on record, with the mercury in the Welsh village of Trosgoed hitting 20.6 Celsius or 70 degrees Fahrenheit. It was, according to the Met Office, the first time that temperatures had exceeded 20 degrees Celsius on the British mainland in winter. This is unprecedented. In Wales, 20.6 degrees Celsius is like the middle of summer, according to Etienne Capikian, a forecaster with the Meteo France Weather Service. On Tuesday, the record was broken again with the Met Office reporting 21.2 degrees Celsius at Kew Gardens in West London. Several other local February temperature records fell in recent days, including 25 degrees Celsius in Oran, Spain, 21 degrees Celsius at Playber, Christ, France, and 18.8 degrees Celsius in Uccle, Belgium.
Global warming indicates more extreme variables in temperature. I understand that. Whether it is or not, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, and it's just, you know, I've been working outside a long time, and you do get freaky weather. You get it in the summer, you get it in the winter, but this is particularly unusual, I must admit.
While scientists are reluctant to attribute individual weather fronts such as heat waves and droughts directly to climate change, there is little doubt that such events are getting more frequent as our planet heats. Friederike Otto, a researcher at the Environmental Change Institute at Oxford University, said, and I quote, "This is one of the clearest signs of climate change that we have seen, that winter temperatures are increasing and the likelihood of very warm days in winter has increased quite a lot." He said the fact that spring starts much earlier is one of the first obvious signs of climate change that we see. The last 4 years have been the hottest on record, with 2018 ending as the fourth hottest year ever, according to the United Nations. The Pacific nation of Vanuatu has announced plans to ban disposable diapers in a move it says will significantly reduce pollution. Take a look.
Yeah, I think it's good for the environment, but I think it's complicated to come back to the old ways. Thank you.
What is the issue with nappies? Well, everybody thinks it's only one nappy a person. Unfortunately, a child produces quite a lot of nappies. The totality of all these nappies, I think there are some numbers out there which show that it's between 1 and 1.5 ton per child you produce in terms of nappies. So that's 1,000 to 1,500 kilograms of plastic which is just going to landfill.
To take us on a tour of Bruges, here is Kate Rebibis and Maria Dawson. Take a look.
Maria Dawson here. We are currently visiting one of Europe's commercial and cultural capitals, Bruges, whose city center is a World Heritage Site of UNESCO. Let's discover together the unique story this city has to tell. Bruges is situated in West Flanders of Belgium. The city's official language is Flemish Dutch, which is a dialect of the Dutch language. In Flemish, we say the city's name as Brugge, and in French as Bruges. But where did the city get its name from?
Well, apparently the city was founded by the Vikings back in the 9th century, and Bruges comes from the old Scandinavian word Brugge, which means harbor or marine place. Bruges is a city which has a rise, fall, and rise again story. Back in the 12th century, the city thrived in its outports, wares, and internationally acclaimed Flemish broth, but soon lost its status in the 15th century when the larger harbor of Antwerp was built.
But in the 1900s, Bruges boomed once again and became an international tourist destination. Its medieval buildings, more than 80 bridges and cobble streets, made the city also known as the small Venice of the monks.
Behind us, you have the City Hall of Bruges, one of the oldest owned halls of the Low Countries, also known as Benelux. This is where the city has been governed for over 600 years.
The Gothic Hall is really breathtaking with its 19th century murals and polychrome vaults.
Just a few meters from the City Hall, we have the Bruxelles, or in English, the Liberty of Bruges.
The Liberty of Bruges used to be a law court, but now holds the city's archives.
Up next, one of the city's most famous symbols, the Belfry of Bruges. It's an 83-meter-tall medieval commercial building found in the center of the marketplace, with a pavilion of 47 melodious bells. The Belfry was used as a lookout tower for any kind of danger, such as fire or wars. And to commemorate the heroes that battled for freedom in the 14th century, the city had put up a statue of young Gretel and Peter the Koning in France at the Belfry. In your travel bucket list, we can assure you that there's much more to the city than what meets the eye.
I'm Kate Vivis,
Maria Dawson,
your EBC correspondents, and always one with 25.
Thank you, guys. Back to environment news. Not even severe weather that recently rolled. In other news, not even severe weather that recently rolled over the Hawaiian Islands seemed to have hindered moviegoers in Honolulu from watching EBC Films' Guerrero as it continues its North American tour. Our young Hawaii correspondent, Mio Senas, has all the details.
No matter how many times you fall down, you can always get back up. A good job casting crew, great movie.
Yeah, you gotta show the moves. There you go.
Do you think people should watch it? How many times did you cry in the movie? 5 times. Yeah?
After much anticipation, EBC's first full-length movie has finally arrived in the Aloha State. EBC's film's Guerrero held its Hawaii premiere at the iconic Dole Cannery Theaters in Honolulu. Hundreds have gathered at the lobby to purchase tickets, get their photos taken in front of the giant movie poster, where they also had a chance to sign their names. Throughout the whole event, passers-by, even from other movies, expressed curiosity about the film, while some wished they could have seen Guerrero instead. EBC also took the opportunity to introduce Hawaii to its record label, E25 Records, by displaying and offering the debut album by famous Filipino hip-hop artist Rapido. Guerrero portrays the life of a young boxer from the Philippines who had to endure the blows and punches in life, both on and off the boxing ring. Directed by Carlo Artego Cuevas, the movie has already won multiple awards in the Philippines and overseas, including Best Editing of Foreign Language Film at the Madrid International Film Festival in 2018. Here are just a sample of reaction from the crowd after watching the film.
It's funny, it made me laugh, it made me cry, it's a really good story, much to see it.
It was a moving movie and I enjoyed it, but it was a little, I wanted to see the brother. And it's like a little sad for me because I lost my brother.
Do you have like a favorite scene?
The little boy.
Which part?
He was trying to fix up the brother with the girl. And that was funny. That was funny. That was the best part.
I usually don't get excited about movies, but Guerrero is a must-see. We're waiting for the sequel. Kudos to EBC, to the cast and crew, the young man who is Miguel. He did very well. He's truly a movie star.
Speaking of sequels, these moviegoers had some special requests, especially for the movie's director and EBC Films. After being released all over the Philippines and parts of Asia, Guerrero made its North American debut in Las Vegas and Saskatoon, Canada last December. It has since been shown in New York City, New Jersey, Maryland, and Virginia. Guerrero will continue its tour in select theaters across the U.S., Canada, and Europe. Reporting from Honolulu, Hawaii, I'm Mio Senas, 1 with 25.
In boxing, Anthony Joshua has promised Jarrell Miller he will strip him of his soul when he defends his world heavyweight titles, as he responded to taunts from his US challenger he was a posh champion. British boxer Joshua will fight in the United States for the first time when he defends his IBF, WBA and WBO crowns at Madison Square Garden in the challenger's home city of New York on June 1st. It will be a clash between two unbeaten boxers, with Joshua boasting a record of 21 knockouts in 22 wins compared to Miller's mark of 23 and 1 with 20 KOs. The pair had already held a testy press conference in New York last week, with Miller proclaiming Joshua a fraud. Monday's event was relatively restrained. Former Olympic champion Joshua has largely avoided the kind of trash talk common in the promotion of many boxing bouts, but he appeared riled Monday, particularly when Miller said Tyson Fury was now the talk of British heavyweight scene. And in the NBA, Pascal Siakam and Kawhi Leonard led the way as the Toronto Raptors kept up the pressure on Eastern Conference leaders Milwaukee on Tuesday with a 118-95 rout of the Boston Celtics. Cameroonian ace Siakam scored 25 points, while Leonard added 21 to help Toronto improve to 45-17 in the East, leaving them 2 games back from the Bucks. Serge Ibaka added 14 points for the Raptors, while Norman Powell chipped in with 11 from the bench. But it was another disappointing night for the Celtics, who slid to their 3rd straight defeat as Toronto contained their offense. Boston star Kyrie Irving was held to 7 points during his frustrating outing at the Toronto Scotiabank Arena. Marcus Morris led the scoring for Boston with 17 points, while Jason Tatum added 11. Celtic coach Brad Stevens blamed the defeat on his side's defense lapses as well as inability to generate offense. The Celtics are in the 5th spot in the standings with 37 wins and 24 losses. In the history of the Olympics, an American man has never won gold in judo. Colton Brown eyes for one color medal, gold, in the Tokyo 2020. Here's Rod De La Paz for a special EBC Sports story.
Champions are not made overnight, but instead over a lifetime of sacrifice, commitment, and determination. When everyone's going one direction, a champion must go the other to pursue excellence, precision, and legacy. This judo Olympian describes growing up as a teen and how his camp is preparing him for the 2020 Olympic Games in Japan.
I'm Colton Brown, originally from New Jersey, 2016 Olympian in the sport of judo and a 4-time world team member. I've been doing judo for 20 years. I started when I was 7 years old at a place, Cranford, New Jersey. Cranford Judo Karate Center under the instruction of Sensei Ionesco, who's no longer with us. So when I got serious in judo when I was about 12, and I started to like judo, so I didn't like judo at first. So when I first started doing judo, I thought I would like it, but I didn't like it, and my dad kind of kept forcing me to go. So as a kid, nobody likes that. So I didn't really like it. And then I began to like it at 12. I won my first tournament. I went down to Miami, Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, for the Junior US Open, like the Junior National Tournament. And I ended up winning. And I think that made me like the sport. So I don't know if I liked judo initially or I just liked winning. When I became 14, it kind of got to the point where my friends were starting to go out and everybody was hanging out at the movies, and I used to have to practice on Friday nights and Saturday mornings. So I had to make a decision. My dad was like, you have to make a decision. Either you want to go out and hang out with your friends or you want to practice and get better. He was like, you know, and as a kid, you don't really see it. You're like, oh, yeah, I kind of want to hang out with my friends. I don't care about this that much. I can miss one day of practice every week, but that adds up. And he instilled that mindset in me from an early age. Now, you fast forward 10 years, I'm at the point where all my friends are still going out to brunches and doing all this stuff, and I'm in a different country somewhere competing or cutting weight. But I don't think if I wouldn't have made that sacrifice back then, I don't think I would be that disciplined now. I don't think I'd be in the position I am now. And you know, we have the rest of our lives to do things like that. So I can go out and do whatever I want when I'm done with judo. But right now, I made the conscious decision then, and I think it's helped me tremendously now.
My name is Jeff Brown. I am Colton's dad. I work with him on judo and helping him develop his judo. We're going in with the core belief of if we can find the right training partners for him that are going to challenge him. That's kind of what we want to do. I believe he's a player that works off of muscle memory. So I want him going against the toughest guys.
My philosophy on any sports-related exercise is mimicking the movement of the sport. So if you look at a guy like Colton that does a combat style, which engages man-to-man, he needs to be flexible in different angles, different planes of motion. He needs to have strength, speed, and endurance all at the same time. If he keeps a passion reason that he wants to make the team, he wants to win, he wants to be the best he has to be, that's going to keep him motivated through hard workouts and through rough nights. Number two, once he identifies distractions, he's going to understand that there's certain nights he can't party, there's certain foods he can't eat, there's certain days he can't take off. Being an Olympic athlete, trying to achieve that goal, he has to keep those two things at the front of his mind. If he keeps those two things, that combination will keep him strong and keep him focused.
Winning is the driving force that keeps Colton pushing forward, with his eyes set solely on the top of the podium at Japan in 2020. For EBC Sports International, this is Rod De La Paz, 1 with 25.
What a great story. Thank you, Rod. Watch out for more stories in EBC Sports International. I'm Ben Bernaldez, and I am 1 with 25.
Thank you, Rod and Ben. Thanks, guys. And that's it for tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on Eagle News International, I'm Alma Angeles, always 1 with 25.